Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Streaming Safari here at the Lion Habitat Ranch. We're happy to see you again if you're tuning in with us. Thank you so much if you've come out to visit, and as always, if you've been able to come out to visit, make any donations to us, help us out on Amazon Smile, all that goes right back to taking care of our amazing animals, so we really, really appreciate it. If you do want to come out and visit us and you haven't yet, we are open every week, Thursday to Monday from 10 to 2. And those hours don't change until
October-ish. That's all I know. October something.
For at least a couple more months. Today we're going to be doing another experiment related to summer. I'm trying to keep the summer theme until we roll into fall here, and then we'll have some cool pumpkin stuff for you probably. Spoiler alert. So today we're going to talk about sunscreen. And as usual, you're going to get some things from me about waves, because if you haven't realized, everything has to do with waves. Sorry. So when we look at sunscreen, so I have a bunch of different ones here. I have from 30 all the way up to 100 SPF. What does SPF mean? SPF actually stands for sun protection factor. And it's basically telling you how long is it going to take for the sun to start making your skin red. Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into that, as we probably know, right? It kind of depends on what your skin type is and also the intensity of the sun that you're in. So things are going to happen a little differently if you're somebody that burns really easily versus somebody that doesn't burn a lot. I think Denise burns a little bit more easily than I do. I tan. I'm getting a little too tan out here lately. But, so it's just going to depend on that. It's also going to depend, are you in the direct sun? Are you in the shade? Things like that. But in general, what that SPF number is telling you is that if you're somebody who could stand in the sun for 10 minutes and you wouldn't get red at all, with an SPF 30, you could stay in the sun for 3 hours, ideally, with enough sunscreen on, and be able to not get burned.
Do you mean 3 hours or 5 hours? You wrote 5.
5 hours. 5 hours. It was 5. 300 minutes, which is 5 hours. And then if you're somebody that burns really, really easily, like you just go out in the sun and you're there for a minute and then you turn to a lobster, if you put the SPF 30 on, you're going to be able to stay in the sun for 30 minutes without getting really, really red. And that's under ideal conditions, remember. So what's going on here? Why does that even happen? Why do we get sunburn? Well, we get sunburn from waves of light coming from the sun that are in the ultraviolet range. So this is a range of light that we can't see. We've talked about the visible spectrum, like our rainbow, before. Do we have a comment?
I have a comment. Did you know that birds and some birds can see in the ultraviolet spectrums?
Denise, you stole my special fact for the day.
Sorry.
Denise stole my special fact, which is that even though we can't see this color, a lot of our birds, especially our macaws, can see that color really well. So sometimes they have this special color in their feathers so that they can see that special color in each other, and they look extra bright and beautiful to each other.
My bad.
Thanks for stealing my facts. So our visible light spectrum is somewhere between 400 and 700 nanometers. Longer is telling you that the wavelength between them, this distance, is longer. Remember, the frequency is how much it goes up and down, and then the wavelength is the distance between the peaks. So there's 3 types of UV light: UVA, B, and C. Pretty easy to remember. The ones that our sunscreen is dealing with are UVA and UVB. UVC, we're really, really lucky because it can be very, very dangerous, but we have this layer of what we call ozone that surrounds our planet. And so the ozone layer around the Earth actually helps block the UVC light so we don't get really, really dangerous light coming down to us and hurting our skin really bad and causing cancer. So UVA and UVB can still be really dangerous because they're these very, very quick moving light that can penetrate your cells really easily. And so they're from, this UVA is 400 to about 315 or maybe 320. And then the UVB from about 320, 315 to 280. So these are all smaller wavelengths than our visible light spectrum. And so that's what we're looking at to protect us from when we're putting on sunscreen. So, of course, you go to the store, you see all kinds of different sunscreens, and now we know what it means when we read the number on them. So if you're somebody that burns a little bit more, you're going to want a number that's a little higher, or if you're going to stay in the sun for a really long time. You still want to make sure you're applying that sunscreen really frequently because it also has to do with how much of it you have on your skin. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of see how well these sunscreens work. And this experiment's going to be pretty easy. All you're going to need is a couple different types of sunscreens. You might have these already around your house. And you can test different things with them too. For example, I have all the different SPFs. I have a 30, I have a 50, I have a 70, and I have 100. And then I have another 30 because this is the one that I usually use, and I kind of wanted to see what the difference was between these two. So you can test different brands. You can test the spray ones versus the liquidy ones or the creamy ones. So it's all kinds of fun options for you. So we want to get some dark construction paper. I'm using just black construction paper. You can use blue. You want it to be able to see it fade away. So the black I think works really well. Dark blue would work pretty well too, but you don't want any light colors. And then you're going to want to mark on your paper what you're putting on there. So let's try, you want to do this for each one, and you want to have a control one. So you're going to have one that's just by itself that says no sunscreen. Okay. So you have one with no sunscreen, you're not going to do anything with it. Okay. And then we're going to take another piece, and we're going to do this for everyone. I'm not going to do everyone right this second, but so let's do the 50 together right now. So we're going to say SPF 50, and if you want, you can write the brand on it. This is just like the Walmart brand, I think. Equate Sport.
I think so. I think that's all Walmart.
And now the fun part, you're going to take the sunscreen and you're going to put a bunch of sunscreen on your hand. Now be careful with the creamy ones because you don't want to leave a lot of residue on the paper. So you want to get it all over your hand so it's nice and clear. Right, I don't see a lot of the white there. Make sure it's all on your fingers, and you're going to put your handprint on the piece of paper. And so you can kind of see the wetness from my handprint there, right?
Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit? Okay. So then what you're going to want to do after you do the same thing with all of them, so write what the sunscreen is at the top, like SPF 30, maybe what it is if you're comparing sunscreens. Put the sunscreen on your hand. Make sure you wash your hand in between each of them so that you're only testing the one that you're putting your handprint on. So you'll do this one. When I do the next one, I need to wash my hand and then do the next one. And then, of course, it's getting windy, guys.
Yeah, you're working with paper. That's how this works. It's the wind summoning.
So once you've done this, you want to find a spot that's about the same amount of sun. I wouldn't want to leave these here right now because this one's getting a lot of sun and this one's only getting like half sun. So find somewhere where, like our table's over there, she wants to turn around and show you, like all sun, just sun everywhere. That's what you're looking for, so that all of your papers get the same amount of sunlight. And then you're going to leave them there for a couple hours. You can leave them there for as long as you want. And the longer you leave them there, the more faded the paper is going to become. It takes, I'd say leave them out there for at least 2 hours. If you want to leave them longer, you can leave them all day if you want to. I came prepared today, and I already did this experiment for you guys, so you can see how it turned out. Now, if you want to see, just these ones I left out for about 2.5 hours. And let's get it in the sun so we can see. This one I just pulled out of there, so it's a little bit faded, not too much though. So I probably could have left it out in the sun quite a bit longer. Now you can see my handprint on these other ones. So the lightest one that we had was the SPF 30, and you can kind of barely see my handprint here still. Most of the paper, including the part with my handprint, faded pretty well, except for some parts where it had a little bit thicker sunscreen. This one is my one that I like to use here at the ranch. Obviously, it's probably not doing me too good in the sun for too long because it pretty much faded along with the rest of the paper. But it does have sparkles in it, which I think is really important.
Sparkles are important.
Sparkles are not important for you protecting your skin. Don't Okay, so let's look next at the SPF 50. The SPF 50, you can kind of see my handprint a little bit better, right? It didn't fade quite as much as the rest of the paper. So
Trying
that
to
one
just get
looks
the right
like it
angle.
works a little bit better. Can you get it?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
In the shadows, that work better?
Yes, there.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
All right, and then let's check out the SPF 70. I might have had this on a little bit too thick. If it's a little bit too thick, you're gonna get some like white splotches. But you can see my handprint really well, and that one seemed to work really well. And then finally, we have that SPF 100. Can't get any better than that, right? And you can see a really, really big difference. This is also a spray-on sunscreen, which I think coats a lot better. So you can really distinctly see that I got that sunscreen all over my hand. And it did a really good job of not fading at all. So this is a nice, cool experiment to just show us that the difference in the SPF actually does seem to work pretty well. And again, you can compare all your different sunscreens doing this, leave it out in the sun longer, see how long it would take for an SPF 50 to start fading, right? I want to know that. That sounds pretty cool. So yeah, you got all kinds of options again this week. I like to give you guys options for your experiments. And hopefully you guys learned something cool. You guys learned a cool fact about birds. I was supposed to tell you that fact. Someone else told you that fact, so it's okay. And make sure you guys wear sunscreen when you are outside. Those UV rays can be really damaging to your skin, so you just want to protect yourself over time. You know, I know when you're a little kid you think that you're invincible, but you really do want to protect your skin to make sure that you don't get anything bad happening to your skin in the future when you're an adult. So listen to your parents when they tell you to put your sunscreen on, and think about what type you should use just based on how much you burn. Cool? Well, hopefully you enjoyed this experiment this week. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.